Hello, friends, and welcome to the Sweet Tea Shakespeare podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Judson Clark, and with me today, I have two absolute superstars with me today. Once again, we have the one and only Mr. Sweet Tea Shakespeare himself, Jeremy Fiebig. Hello, brother.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. And we also have another superstar joining us for the first time, Natalie Ray. How are you doing?
I'm great. How's it going?
I'm absolutely fantastic. I'm having a great time at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday. Let's go. So, if you don't know what we are the Sweet Tea Shakespeare podcast where we talk about everything Shakespeare, all your favorite teas, and everything sweet in the world. Sweet Tea Shakespeare is a nonprofit theater company and training ground inspired by Shakespeare in the early modern period in its spirit and operations, based in Fayetteville and Raleigh, North Carolina. Here on the podcast, we bring in a guest or two and get a closer look on what makes sweet tea possible. You can catch this episode as a video podcast on YouTube, or if you just want the audio, like let's say you're driving, that's fine. You can find us on all your favorite podcast services such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Today's episode is made possible by a number of delightful people, such as the folks at the Capital Encore Academy, Napkins, the Arts Council of North Carolina and Fayetteville, and Homelight. But we'll talk more about them later. Right now, I have two directors. Two directors. Usually we get these actor jabronis. Usually we get these the actors. They don't know nothing. You know what I mean? I'm here to talk about the top dogs, the one who make the plays possible. We have two directors today, and coincidentally enough, one of them is an actor right now. So we'll just disregard everything I just said. So first of all, I'll start with you, Jeremy, because you just directed The Illusion, and I want to hear all about that production because I was not a part of it, and I would love to hear more about
You lying liar.
it.
For folks at home, Judson was the lead of that play. So I need to know how you thought it went. But I got to watch it every night. So I have a secret to tell everyone. This is inside baseball information regarding me and Sweet Tea. But this is true in all of my life, not just my Sweet Tea life. But like creatively, when I direct something, I can rarely watch it. It just makes me nervous. I am like bound up like an anxiety ball. And so usually what I do is like I'll go to opening night because that's the polite thing to do. And then I'll like be seen some other nights, but I usually like don't go back and watch the whole thing. It's a rare thing that I will go and watch the whole thing or even be there because like my work is done and the show needs to grow without me and all of that. But I really enjoy just going out to the Illusion every night by choice and watching the show. And I didn't catch every single minute. Sometimes I was helping with front of house, but it's really just a lovely environment. We love being out at Gillis Hill Farm, outdoors. And April and May is like chef's kiss. Just truly amazing. And the environment was beautiful, and the show is fantastic. It's just a magical, literally magical show. Um, and yeah, good time. I loved it. I loved the cast. I love the story. I love the writing. I loved it all. And just had a good time. And I would comment to people during the run, like figuring out how we could possibly do this more or longer forever. It's kind of one of those shows that people you could just do forever and you would always find something new in it and that people find charming on their second, third, fourth, fifth visit. So it may appear again on a Sweet Tea season or another season in some organization I'm involved with because I think it's transportive and wonderful.
Yeah, and to echo your sentiment, I mean, you can tell that because we got an extended run. We had an extra weekend of that show. So 100%. And also that was our first time with Gillis Hill Farm, and that was quite an experience to behold. Like that you hit the nail on the head. That was just absolutely perfect for what that show needed to be and where it needed to be. And also the people were there were just absolutely lovely. Also, quick side note, fantastic ice cream. Oh man,
Amazing
fantastic
ice
ice
cream.
cream. Oh man.
Shout out to Andrew Gillis who made that whole thing possible. I mean, we walked in like one day and just said, "Hey, can we do a play here?" Our board member Hillary, who knows him, just asked, and the answer was yes, and they just really rolled out the red carpet for us the entire time. I mean, they changed parts of their farm, like our indoor space. I'm always nervous about indoor spaces when we do outdoor shows because we design and like make the outdoor really magical, and then we go indoors. It's like sometimes it can feel like cardboard and plastic. Um, and when we went inside, it was just as magical. And all of that is due to the fine work of Andrew, and I should say his entire family, because he would drive around on the golf cart with like his 72 children, and they would like lean over the fence rail watching the play every night, and that was pretty special to watch too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Now, Natalie, you are directing A Little Princess up in Raleigh coming very soon right at you. Now tell me about how that experience, a little like general summary of how that experience is going for you so far.
Yeah, it's been really phenomenal to have the opportunity to bring this play and bring it in the way that I see it. It's a new adaptation, so I've been working on this for about a year now with a friend of mine, Manisha Lassiter, to create our own adaptation. Um, it's a story that's always spoke to me. I've been really invested in this story since I saw the movie first. I've got to admit that. There's a couple different movie versions. I watched the one that came out in the 90s when I was maybe 7 or 8, and it really drew me in. I loved the characters. There's something about that creepy old mansion kind of lifestyle and the orphan who needs to succeed against all odds. Um, that I think just really speaks to people of a certain age, you know. But also now that I'm grown up, I've fallen back in love with it. You know, it came to mind as a female written classic that I would really love to direct someday. And I brought that up to Jeremy and he was on board. So it's been really phenomenal to have the opportunity to get into that.
And I would just
Great.
say what helped that decision. So Natalie's worked for us a couple times as assistant director, dramaturg, actor. And our history plays mostly. Do I have that right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Henry
And
ads.
so when we started talking about like opportunities to direct on our season, we had this conversation while I was on the train from Oxford, England to London. Like I'd visited for the day on a trip that I was taking. And so like the sort of the nostalgia of that experience combined with like this title started to resonate even then. And so I'm just excited that she's doing this work. We're I got to peek in last night, and it's going to be pretty magical.
We have that magic flowing through the Sweetie Shakespeare end of the season this season. I'm so excited for it. And as we're recording, I'm about to be joining right there with you tonight, and I'm so excited to see it in action, and also excited for everyone out there to be experiencing it themselves. Something I want to ask the two directors, because I'm a little feeble actor. I don't know anything about anything, right? As I was talking about before, I'm just a little grunt, a vessel, if you may. And I want to ask the creators about what is it like to, and this might not make any sense as I say it, but what is it like to Sweetie Shakespeareify a script? If you look at the script, I'll start with Jeremy with the illusion. Um, if you look at the script, and how do you take that and give it the magical Sweetie Shakespeare spice and little flavor that you need, whether it's from a design perspective and the physical space aspect, or whether it's like in terms of direction and how you want certain characters to do. Because of course, as we all know, all plays are going to be different, but there's something that Sweetie Shakespeare brings that is very unique to otherwise said script and production. I've had compliments of, and not to me, not my kind of compliments, but I've had compliments about the production being like, it seems like it's a whole different show just because of how, unique it is that we bring to the table. Am I making any sense?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you guys what kind of things did you have to look for in that?
For me and for the illusion especially, I'm always looking, even when we pick Shakespeare shows, I'm looking for the sort of timeless elements, the I call it I think I call it mythological, like what's the really human fundamental stuff that we can mine in a script. Um, and we try and design the atmosphere, and that really comes from me thinking about the best nights I've ever had in my life, whether it's watching a play or getting married and going to the reception, and like what does that include? And for me, it includes like warm cafe lights and like grass that's well kept, and uh, some drink in hand. And so it's um it's a mix of all of those things. For me, it's really just me reconstructing those great nights that I've had from just a design perspective. um and then I think the other big thing is like we share the light with the audience, and so that creates moments for interaction and engagement with the audience that isn't there when you go see another show most other places. It's some people call it shared light or universal lighting. And it's even when we do a little bit more conventional theater like we do when we're in Raleigh, that light spills over and we're really trying to connect with the audience in a way that's different than you would see almost any place else. And that's what we're really after. That's my answer.
That's such a beautiful answer. I love that. Um, so for me, for A Little Princess, I think starting out in the same place, what are those universal themes? What are those aspects of the character that resonate with me? And therefore, I feel like by extension, other people in our modern society today. Um, and how can we that feeling? What are those moments that we really want to mine and explore? There's also the element of music that I think has always been very important to Sweet Tea, um, from what I've seen in past productions, and I wanted to bring that in a way. So we've got these what I'm calling interludes in the script that I wrote in, and they are the transition pieces where we're incorporating these classic British nursery rhymes into the story itself. Um, they're not part of the original book, but something that is of the time and helps bring that light experience. Um, we want it to be something that is relatable and grounded, and at the same time lifts you up and brings you into this place of creativity and just the possibilities of life, you know? So that's a big part of that sweet tea element, I think.
Absolutely wonderful. Now, a little side note, I'll start with Natalie. About just a little, like without spoilers, what is the story about in case those who don't know, so they can, if they are not aware, this can be their definitive experience of this of a little princess.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, A Little Princess is a classic story. So it was written in the technically, it was first published in the very late 1800s as a short story in a magazine by Frances Hodgson Burnett. She then expanded it, released in the very early 1900s as A Little Princess. And the full title was A Little Princess, being the whole story of Sarah Crewe, now told for the first time. So she just had rave reviews about this random little short story that she got published, and decided to expand on the character by giving her an entire story and backstory and all of that. So the idea is that it's Sarah Crewe. She is this child who grew up in India. This is colonial times that we're talking, um, with her British father. Her father brings her back to London to get an education at Miss Minchin's Seminary for Young Ladies. And it's a boarding school. So he leaves her there and goes back to London. She needs to make friends for the first time, have those experiences. Um, what is she going to do about a rival classmate? You know, how can she work her way through life with these stories that she's lived with the whole time. She really uses them to find courage and connect with people. So that's a really fun element to play with. Um, and then at the end of Act One, I'm not going to give it away, but something very tragic happens to Sarah, and she ends up getting on the bad side of Miss Minchin, the headmistress. And then Act Two is her trying to work her way out of that situation.
Lovely. Now, if I'm not mistaken, these two creators are also some writers because Miss Natalie, I have heard from a little birdie that you are also partly responsible for adapting the play into, or adapting the book into live theater as an original script. Now, I want you to tell me about that. What kind of hurdles did you have to tackle, and like how was that kind of process of not only taking on the mantle of directing it, but having to adapt it itself?
Well, Jeremy and I had some conversations very early on about what to maintain about the original story, and we did want to keep it to the book as much as we could. So I started really by diving deep into the text and bringing out all of the pieces that I wanted. What are the scenes that are absolutely integral to the story, the plot, characters, and and then also what is theatrical and interesting on stage, and what is just subplot that we can just let go and doesn't really add that much to the theme. Um, and then looking at that structure, how can we expand on it to really give these characters a three-dimensional depth? Um, and part of that has also been working with the actors. I gave them the script and I said, I really want this to be a collaborative experience. I want you to come to me with your ideas. I really want every single character that you see up on the stage to have a backstory and not just be a stereotype, um, of, oh, I'm the mean girl and I'm the dumb girl, which is a little bit how they come across in the original story, except for Sarah, who is definitely the lead protagonist very clearly. So how do we create those character arcs for each and every character? And also grapple a little bit with this colonial backstory of the original piece, right? This is written in a time by a author, and she sees uh, this faraway land of India as something to be very exotic. And we want to, that's a lot of why I brought in Manisha Lassiter to help me with the piece. She had so many great, brilliant ideas for how to adapt this story into something that resonates culturally with people of that background as well. And part of that was thinking a little bit more about the heritage of Sarah herself. So in our version, although her father is still a white British officer, Sarah herself does have Indian heritage through her mother's side, and so has a stronger connection to her homeland and the stories of her youth. So she's able to really bring that perspective. And the actor, Janvi Patel, has been really phenomenal in bringing her own thoughts to that as well. Thinking about the nursery rhymes that she used to be sung to by her parents when she was little. Very touching things that we hope to weave into the story.
Mm-hmm. Now, staying on the writer side, I have a little something. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to reach it. Mr. Jeremy Fiebig himself, as I have said during the run of the illusion, has brought out this little puppy. If it can focus. It won't focus.
It's being censored.
Audio listeners, you just missed out on, you gotta pop over to YouTube when you can pull over and check it out. But Jeremy Fiebig has published a book. I'm holding it in my hands. It's Zoom does not like the books
Hold it
though.
in front of your face. That might help.
I'm sorry, I can't
There we go.
share
There
the
we go.
spotlight. There you
I
go.
can see it now a little bit. There we go.
I couldn't share the spotlight. I apologize. But yeah, you published a book.
I did.
Your face is on a book and you wrote
It
it.
is on a book.
Tell me about
did.
that experience. Tell me all about it.
So, that book happened in the strangest possible way. Several years ago, I think it was 2019, I decided to join a graduate program at UNC Wilmington. And it was mostly because I was at a point in my life where I was running a theater company. I was a full-time professor. And between those two things, I did not have like tons of time for myself. And so I am a person who sort of thrives on structure. And so I decided, hey, let me join this graduate program and get some structure. And I just started the weirdest stuff. It was a program in liberal studies. And so I remember my first class was in shamanism, and my second class was on like the good life. And I had classes on fairy tales, and I had classes on Carl Jung's archetypal work and a variety of other things. And I wrote like constantly during that program, and there was a kind of thread of like dealing with trauma through all of the work that I did. And so I collected all of that stuff and basically sat on it for a couple years, and then through a grant from our local arts council in Fayetteville, Cumberland County, just pitched them the idea about how about I turn this stuff into a book. And they gave me the grant, and I spent a couple months kind of writing what's essentially a foreword, and then a few things at the end to kind of sew all of that stuff together. And that happened between November of last year and January, February of this year. And then the book came out on, I think, March 7th of this year. Yeah, I hope it helps people. It is about trauma. It's also just about the like living the creative life and working with other people. And it is a theater book, among many other things. It's about what Sweet Tea does. It's about like gathering people around a well-lit space and like hearing stories. And so that part was really enjoyable to dig into and write, because it's kind of like the secret sauce of what it means to Sweet Tea Shakespeareify something. So if you want the long answer to the question you asked earlier, that's where it is. It's in this thing I call a bonfire experience, and just what it means to gather people and tell stories and all the things that help you do that, so that your plays or your wedding or your life will be great.
Perfect. I love it. I just finished it. I finally got the time, and I crunched it. I took all day and just cover to cover all in one day, one sitting. Love to see it, and had a great time. Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend it. And before we continue any further, I did promise you guys at the top of the show that I would tell you a little bit about the people who made this possible, and I'm going to fill my promise by telling you about them right now. The Sweet Tea Shakespeare podcast is the official podcast for all things Sweet Tea Shakespeare, which is made possible by a number of lovely people and organizations. We are supported by a grant from the Arts Council of Fayetteville, the NC Arts Council, and by contributions from the City of Fayetteville, Cumberland County, and other supporting partners. We would like to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters of all levels. This is made possible by your generous contributions, and we humbly and most gratefully thank you. Want to join our lovely list of supporters? You can find us on patreon.com/sweetteashakes. That's patreon.com/sweetteashakes. The Illusion, The Little Princess, Shakespeare in Love, and Midsummer. And what if I told you that you can get all 4 of these shows with one package to sweeten the deal? That's right. The all 4 one package includes all 4 shows for $50 and $25 for students. get first dibs at these most ambitious shows probably in Sweet Tea Shakespeare history. That's not officially on the record, but I'll say it confidently. Don't wait for any of these shows to sell out. Grab them now with the all-for-one package. Join us for this deal, fourth in a lifetime. You know, I tried to do something with like the once, but change it to the fourth. No, it's not clever. It's not funny. Join us at sweetteashakespeare.com/tickets. Well, hello there. Welcome back. I thought we lost you. You guys were lost in the ads. We're here. We're back in the episode. So we were just talking before with a break about bonfire experiences and what they really mean. And keep in mind, as Jeremy much better said in the book, even in this podcast, he said it better than me. But like what that means might be different for everyone. And so I want to ask both of you guys what your bonfire experiences would be. For me, it would probably be me and my loved ones watching a movie, having some overly buttered popcorn, and then talking about the movie or talking about our favorite movies. Of course, bonfires literally are absolutely wonderful, but movies and community is really where I am like in my element. You know what I mean? If there's nothing else I know, if there's nothing else I understand, it's like it's movies and that. So I want to ask, I'll start with Nathalie this time about what's your favorite kind of bonfire experience in your pastime?
Yeah, I'd say theater and film. So I go back and forth. You know, I'm a theater person. My husband's a film person, so we kind of have to split the difference sometimes. But the ones that really speak to me are the ones that have um, questions for the audience. You know, the ones that leave you hanging a little bit. They give you just enough that you just have to talk about it afterwards. You have to delve into those details. And so the experience is not just your time at the movie theater or actual theater or park or wherever you're watching something. It's half the time the car ride home or at the dinner table afterwards, right? You're continuing that conversation through. And those are the experiences that I just absolutely love. I can't get enough of that.
All right, Mr. Man himself, what you got? Also, don't like I know you wrote it. I know you have a book all about it. So I know you need to sell some books. So like you don't have to get into exactly, carbon copy and but maybe promo it a little bit, tease it a little
Sure.
bit.
Sure. So everyone buy my book. It's on Amazon and at jeremyfiebig.com. It's a quick read. I think you'll have fun. But I'll say I think two or three of the bonfire experiences I have. One is literal bonfires. I just love them. I remember one I had when in grad school where we lived out on a farm in the middle of the country next to a river in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I invited a bunch of people over from work, the American Shakespeare Center. And I just remember it as like one of the best nights I certainly had. And people will stop me to this day who were there and say, don't you remember that party? And it was just a great thing. Had it in the middle of our garden and it was just it was a lovely night. For what's another one? I just had like four. Oh, travel is a big one for me. So like it doesn't matter who I'm with. It doesn't matter even if I'm alone. I can have kind of a personal bonfire experience when I'm traveling. And I like walking into old churches and weird spaces and like taking them in. And I feel like I'm at a bonfire with everybody who's like lived and died before. And so there's one I mentioned in the book, St. Bartholomew the Great Church in London. It's like a few steps north of St. Paul's Cathedral. Everybody goes to St. Paul's because that's when they know. Nobody goes to Bartholomew the Great. They're celebrating their 1000th anniversary this year. And every time I walk into that space, it just takes my breath away. And I've had a lot of little experiences like it when traveling. But that is like the great place that I've had a bonfire experience. And the others are a lot, there's a lot of mundane ones where it's just like me across from a person, and we're drinking beer, or we're having coffee, or we're having tea, or whatever it is. And it's just we have the real conversations. Everybody else talks about the weather, but we kind of get into it, and that's those are bonfire experiences for me as well.
Absolutely lovely. Yeah, it it's a wonderful thing to look forward to, and there's even some fun in trying to make it happen. Sometimes like being caught in the ecosystem and into the world and work and economy and all that stuff, you can get really swept up in it, and it can be so hard to actually put together and bring to fruition. But sometimes they happen like out of nowhere, and it's just absolutely wonderful and absolutely detrimental to our survival and enjoyment. So that was a wonderful journey we just went on. I'm glad you guys were there with me for that. Now I want to talk about something that you guys are looking forward to. Obviously, I know that there's a little show going on called A Little Princess that we're all looking forward to, but it could be that. But anything else that you guys, any projects that you guys are looking specifically forward to, anything personal that you're looking forward to, tell me about that. I'll start with Jeremy this time.
I'm looking forward to, speaking of travel, I'm taking my family to Europe. We have been trying to travel since the dawn of COVID, as it were, and we put that trip off so many times, and now we're getting to go. So this summer in July, we're going for a week on a river cruise in Italy from Venice into Mantua. And we didn't actually plan any of the Shakespeare stops, but it happens that there are a ton of Shakespeare stops. So there's obviously Venice because of Merchant of Venice and several other things. But we're going to Mantua, we're going to Verona and making lots of stops along the way, and then we're going for a week to London and points surrounding. And I'm excited. I'm excited to travel for real with my wife for the first time in a long time, and with my kids who've never been overseas. So we're looking forward to that.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, for me, I definitely a little princess. Looking forward to that opening. There is something about that adrenaline before opening that I just love. Um, and then after that, um, I am involved in my own little bitty production company. We do theater and film, just very, very tiny, tiny little stuff called Egg Nymph Artist Collective. We're doing a little short film that we're filming in July, so that'll be fun. And then after that, I get to take a break, which I'm looking forward to. It's been a lot of running this year, right? This will be the third play that I've directed this year, and we are in month 5, folks. So that's intense, quite a pace. So I'm looking forward to taking a break. I am planning on going to Belgium, which is where my family's from, for the first time in a couple years. It'll be my first time bringing my husband there to meet my giant extended family. So we'll have a great time having a lot of potatoes because there's a lot of potatoes. So many different kinds. But yeah, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm infinitely jealous. Part of me regrets asking because I have nothing but envy right now.
Well,
um,
tell us what you're looking forward to.
what I'm looking forward to,
Yeah.
obviously, well, yeah, I'm starting my first short film ever that I've ever done. It's been a dream of mine, and this particular one I've been working on for about almost 5 years. We have the script adapted from a one-act play. It's called Forsaken, and it's about a young couple, a young married couple, and it's starring two Sweet Tea Shakespeare regulars, Tracy Kuna Zapata and Taj Allen, the token couple to do this with, and so I'm really excited for it. It is really surreal, and it seems a little like I'm a very dramatic person, right? So I it on scale when you actually go to see it, it's not it's probably be it's just a first short film. It's gonna feel like a college project, right? But even making the trailer itself, I was like, this is real. You know what I mean? Like there's something unexplainable that you can never be able to completely explain and have a non-creative understand of just that feeling of things are real. And it sounds so like pretentious when I say it, but this is a 4 year, 5 year project, and we're filming in the summer. Yeah, I'm hoping that it comes out by fall is what I'm shooting for, and I am excited and insanely scared. Um, I don't think that this one is going to have like a big shebang premiere like like physically, because it's not a feature film. It's a pretty short film. But I impulsively called a local theater, a movie theater, and asked if they did like private screenings that I could do it. And that's a thing. So I'm like, I could premiere this in the theater. I don't think it's going to be Forsaken, but something of bigger scale probably. And yeah, things are real, things are insane, and I love it all. I did want to say that I also, with my envious heart filled with upsetness, has never left the country from what I can remember. Yeah, yeah, that's correct. I've never gone overseas, never done any of that.
Just do it.
Barely explored the United States. Furthest out I've been is probably Cincinnati, where my father's extended family is. Um, but usually it's like Florida, right? So haven't been too far west, and I want your guys' recommendations, you overseers, you little travelers, you little I want you guys to give me some recommendations, and for maybe someone out there who needs to have a little getaway this summer.
Yeah, my recommendation is if you can find a homestay family. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Um, or find an opportunity to go work on a farm. I mean, you can volunteer in a lot of different ways. But don't spend all your time doing that. You want to have the touristy time too. But there's something about spending a couple nights with people who live there, that you're just going to get so much more out of it, I think. When I travel, it's something that I really try to do when I can. It's not always possible, but I strongly recommend it. You're going to really understand the the nuances of the culture as opposed to the surface level stuff that they want you to see. And the food is
Sure.
going to be so delish. They're going to really cook you up something great.
Yeah, I always run into that. Well, not always run into it because I haven't loved it, but I do worry that like anywhere I go, I'm just gonna be the token whatchamacallit, tourist, and I'm just gonna be like, I want. The thing is, I like to think that I'm Italian. That's not completely all the way true. There, so, but I would love to go to Italy, but I just know they're gonna see me and they're gonna see that American. You know what I mean? The American, and I don't want to be a tourist. I want to show up, and I want to be one of them. I want to be a local right off the jump, and it's impossible, but I like to dream that, and that's something that's something that's just in my brain. So Jeremy, what you got for me? What recommendations?
Recommendation. So if you want to practice being in a foreign country without having to go too far, I recommend Asheville. Um, you can get there, you can spend a nice long weekend. The food is great. Plenty to do, great art scene and culture scene. And that stretches for about an hour west to a little town called Silva, which is just got a nice little mountain town vibe. And Waynesville is kind of in between the two, Asheville and Silva. And when we could not go to Europe, that's where we chose to go. It's just beautiful, and Asheville is this weird kind of European scene stuck in the middle of North Carolina, and I heartily recommend it if you want to practice at being a tourist who can blend in. If you can make, whoever's listening can make a summer trip, you got last minute, like I have extra money and I don't know what to do. I'm going to send you to Belgium, to a little town. you'll appreciate this, Judd, called Bruges, which I went to. It's darling. It's a little gingerbread village, and I went to it because I took my wife and I went on a trip where we went there in Amsterdam, and they're two lovely little places. I went because of the movie, the Martin McDonagh movie with Brendan
Yep.
Gleeson and Colin Farrell, who are like two hitmen who go to Bruges on vacation to like cool off. And we went because we saw it in the movie, and we just had a lovely, darling time. That and Amsterdam's kind of the Venice of the West, they kind of call it. And they're both lovely. And if you can get there, go, rush, go. And if you want a little primer on Amsterdam first, watch the third season of Ted Lasso, the Amsterdam episode, one of the greatest things I've ever seen on television.
So excited. I'm so excited. I just speaking of that little note, I started two shows at the same time. They were Ted Lasso and Succession. Phenomenal. Having a great time with it. And
Both headed in the opposite direction.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
the writing is great, Jeff.
oh yeah. Yeah, I'm having a great time with both of those. No spoilers, but I'm almost done with the first season of Ted Lasso, almost done with the second season of Succession. And I recommended Succession to my folks who are into that kind of stuff. Recommended Ted Lasso to the in-laws who are into that kind of stuff. They both are done, like practically done. They're both so far ahead of me in the shows, and they're constantly coming to me. Hey, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm lifing right now. I got I got a lot on my plate, and I just feel like I've created two monsters, or four technically, because it's both of them. And I'm a little apologetic about it. I wanted to apologize, maybe not to them specifically because they're having a great time, but maybe to all of the listeners out there and to you too. Like I needed someone to appreciate my sentiment. Because I've made some monsters straight
Oh,
up.
I completely relate to that. That's my family with the marvelous Mrs. Maisel as well, which just finished
Mm-hmm.
up, and I can't believe it's done.
I know, for real. So we're winding down. I'm gonna close out. Tell me any last minute details, anything to mentally prepare myself for a little princess, because I did see on the little social medias in the Facebook a little puppetry, and I need to know. I am so excited about I love a good old puppetry. So any last minute details, when the shows are, what to expect, and how much fun we're gonna have coming up for Little Princess.
Well, let me start with the last one first. So much fun. Um, yes, there's two different kinds of puppetry, so we couldn't get enough with just one. We've got some shadow puppetry going on as our prologue opener sequence, so that'll be very cool. And then after that, we have some full scale, like, I don't know, giant costume level puppetry. And those are some really fun characters. Shout out to Paper Hand Puppet Intervention. Um, Originally, I was thinking that we would go hand puppetry for these, but this is working out so much better because there's something about having these costume puppets that really makes it much more magical, right? These are sort of the most magical characters. Sarah can talk to them though no one else can, right? So it's really heightening those moments and making it much more theatrical and awe-inspiring. So that's a lot of fun. And I also want to mention that we do have a pre-show going on, same as always with Sweet Tea, but this time with a little bit of a difference. We are bringing in a couple of different guest artists. So we've got a lineup of sitar and Indian classical music players. Yep, they're local and fantastic. So they'll be coming in to do these, 20 to 30 minute sessions with our usual Sweet Tea interruptions, talking to the audience, getting y'all engaged and hyped for the show. So that'll be a lot of fun. And it opens next week, June 9th through the 25th. So 3 weeks to see it. Don't miss it.
Lovely. Now, finally, I need a little tease to prepare for the next episode. Jeremy, what are you working on right now? What are you involved with?
I'm working on Shakespeare in Love. I'm in it. I'm playing Richard Burbage, who is one of Shakespeare's leading actors. Um, Having a great time. We The show is now on its feet, so we're going to start shifting to stage combat and dance and some stuff like that. So got a great cast together. Looking forward to it. It opens toward the end of June.
Lovely. I am so excited. And like I said, that'll be your little tease for next time. So thank you guys both for joining me. Thank you for anyone listening, watching, seeing our beautiful faces, seeing our blurred covers. Thank you for all your support and love. We greatly appreciate you. So thank you guys for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have
Bye,
a good one.
everybody.